Hey y'all, Bobby Lovell here again today. Time for another one of those Sunday Fun Day stories. Hope everybody had a wonderful week. Mine's been plenty busy, but hey, it's been a good week. Um, this particular story, I've told you several different things that have happened down in Nubbin Ridge, the old Lewis Nordyke place that Daddy had leased for a long time, and that was part of my life for about 35 years. So there's a lot of stories that took place down there. But really, to preface this video, I don't know how many of you believe in Bigfoot. But both of my brothers growing up, when they were living in Cross Plains and just little bitty boys running around with BB guns up and down Turkey Creek with their friends, they had a couple of different Bigfoot experiences. Now, if any of you are old enough to remember, there was quite a few stories kind of going around Cross Plains at the time. A lot of people said a gorilla had gotten loose from one of the old traveling circuses that kind of come around some of the smaller towns back then. But one of these days, maybe I'll get my brother on here, Al, or maybe I'll share his story about their Bigfoot experience. But I want to share you about mine, and I'm a firm believer in Bigfoot. So me and my buddy John were going down to Nubbin Ridge, Daddy's place, and we were going to do a little predator calling. Now, back when I was in high school, we loaded up my pickup and we went down, and we didn't have any of these fancy automated calls like my son does, because he enters all of these big cat contests and various things. And he and his buddies go out and call predators with these automatic calls and all sorts of stuff. We had two mouth calls. If we were living in high cotton, if we had a little cassette tape that we could throw in a pickup, turn the speakers up loud. And so he and I had gotten down to Nubbin Ridge, and we had been around two or three different stands where we sat out late at night. It was already dark before we got down there. And we knew where Daddy's cows were. Daddy's cows were in a wheat field on the kind of the north end of the property. We'd already seen them, and we'd made two or three stands, like I said. So we went down, and we went and pulled my pickup up on top of Daddy's tank down there, because it was right about 50 yards from a really thick, brushy creek. I've already told you a little bit about Greenbrier Creek that went through there, one of my other stories, and the bridge that Daddy and I built and put on the creek. So we pulled up there because it was always a good place to at least get a coon. And even back then, coons would get $18 to $26, depending on how big they were. So, we thought, well, we'll pull down there. We'll get up on the tank down, maybe call a coon out of the trees down on the creek towards the tank, and get us a good fat coon to take back and put a little $20 in our pocket or whatever. And so we're calling for a little while. And if you haven't called, if you hadn't been out varmint calling, you do a little bit of calling, and you call, and then you'll run the spotlights. You're not running the spotlight full time. You don't have that bright light in their eyes all the time. We had a red lens on it, but it created so much heat it burned out our old bulb in our spotlight. So we were running a bright spotlight off the pickup. John and I were in the back of my pickup, kind of just running the spotlight around, and I'd call or he'd call with our mouth call, and we'd run the spotlight around. And we hadn't been there very long. And down on the creek, like I said, this was the thickest part of the entire place. I had been all over that place. I had tried to go through this thick creek down there behind the tank, and the briars and the brambles and the trees were so thick, there just wasn't any way of getting through there hardly. Well, our light panned across, and cedar trees, if you've been to Spring Gap, there's a bunch of cedar trees down in that area. So you get on past to where Nubbin Ridge was, and it's still covered up with a lot of cedar trees. Daddy had done a lot of brush control and cleaned out some fields and things, but the creek still had a lot of cedar trees on it, and we didn't see anything. But we saw this cedar tree from the ground at least to 7 foot high up. Every limb on that tree went back when our light hit it, and then all slapped back at one time. So something big went by that tree that every limb went back and slapped back at us. And we knew it wasn't Daddy's cows, because we knew where Daddy's cows were, plus it was taller than Daddy's cows. And he and I never really said anything to one another. We both looked at one another and thought, I've got a 22 long rifle and an old 20 gauge shotgun, and whatever that was, that's not going to stop it. So we kind of both jumped in the pickup and decided it was probably time to head back home. So I don't know if you're a believer in Bigfoot or not, but I guarantee that made a believer out of me. Hey, I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful week. Remember, you guys be sweet. I'll be pretty. I love you. And God bless.